I have a very different approach because I look for products that make that 20K a month, 30K a month. And then I like to reinvest the profits and then scale by having a range of products.
Hello, Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I am so excited today because we have a special guest. Her name is Laura Bull, and she is an e-commerce consultant, and she's also the founder of e-commerce and FBA Boss Babes, which is a fast-growing community for female entrepreneurs in e-commerce. And what Laura does is she specializes in helping businesses build 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses that sell their products to Amazon. And today we're going to talk about a heavy product discussion today, and that is going to be how to do product research, how to do product sourcing, and how to make sure you are really going to be selling a profitable product. Please join me in welcoming Laura to the platform. Hey, Laura, how are you?
Hey, hello.
Well, I'm
Very,
excited to have you.
thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell me, how did you get into this industry? How did you find that this was a problem? Tell us about your journey.
It started many years ago, and 2013. I was a new mom and I decided to start my own e-commerce business and totally flopped. And that's how I got started in e-commerce with a website and starting to sell baby toys. And it didn't work out until the moment I figured out, okay, people actually sell on Amazon. And then I got really, really obsessive about it. I really thought that that's such a great thing. Like I was a buyer, but I never realized that people were actually selling on it. And yeah, that's how I got introduced to the e-commerce world, and then the rest became history as time has gotten. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, obviously, for our viewers and listeners that are manufacturers, right? We've had to pivot in COVID-19, right? We've had to pivot and a lot of us
Yeah.
had to go online. And some of us are even just starting businesses, right? Starting businesses that are manufacturing product. And so the question is, how do we do product research? How do we source these products? And how do we find profitable products?
That's a very good question. Well, in order to find products that do really sell, we need to look at Amazon from the perspective, or e-commerce from the perspective of search engines. So what are the people searching for, and where can we supply where there's demand? So many times I find entrepreneurs, they try to invent a product and they want to be really innovative, and that's often not the way that you really are going to succeed. You succeed the most when you just search where there's a market and then just come in with a better value proposition than what is already available, or with an improved product, or a way where you help the customer with a certain pain point they have with similar products. So you fix something, and that's how you come in strong. And then like I look at it as from three parts, right? There's that demand. You need to find a market. You need to have a better value, and then you need to be able to drive traffic. And the way to drive traffic, if you sell on a marketplace, for example, like Amazon, is by going for products that have less stronger competitors. So you don't want to be competing with sharks, like those big brands with 20,000 of reviews. You want to be going for those products that do have some competitors. It's important to have some, because if there's no competitor, it's an odd thing. People might not be actually buying this. But you want those competitors to not be that strong. And that's the approach that I always go. Always those three things. Yeah.
I love it. So don't get stuck in becoming a commoditized product then, right? So make sure that you stand out. And if there are a few competitors in there, making sure that you bring it to market in a way that just beats everybody else. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And so how do you research that? How do you make sure you're positioned in that way to be able to do that?
Mhm. I start with a very simple search, and that's really on the Amazon page. So, whatever product niche that I find could be interesting, I start by just looking. what is already there? Do I see like really, really big brands that I know? Is there like an immediate recognizable value add that could be add? Like, are the colors off? Could there be like a bundle? Is there a way of offering a bigger set? Things like that. So I try to understand if on the first glance I can already recognize if there's something in there. And then I use software. There are tools like Helium 10. It's a very known tool, which is incredibly powerful because it gives you the chance to actually see how many people are searching for the keyword every single month. So when you know what people are searching for, you can calculate demands, and you can also see how much your competitors are making. So when you have those information of what the revenue is of your competitors, how many people are searching for it, you can come in with a lot of data, and that data can really predict if this is going to work out or not. So it has become really, I would say, safe to get started nowadays, because compared to like 2015 and so on, when there was no such data out there, you could only, like the way we used to calculate if a product made sense, it was by looking at the review count and looking at the bestseller count and making a calculations if that is within the 5% of the whole category. It was really complicated, and it wasn't as effective as these days with those tools. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's amazing what those online tools are able to provide now that weren't there, even 5, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, it was, barely really, internet was barely starting to get fun 10 years ago, with that. But yeah, those online ones, and definitely Helium, if that's a good one, that's a good one to check out then. That's good to
Yeah.
know. So
Helium
what
10 is
about
awesome. Mhm.
That's good to know. So what about this product sourcing? For those that are not used to the product world, and for,
Mhm.
at least knowing the sophisticated terminology of the product world, what is product sourcing?
Mhm. Product sourcing basically means that you find a factory, a manufacturer that can supply you with a product that you want to be selling. So that depends if you want to be selling a already existing brand, so you would become a wholesaler, or if you are going to sell existing products just with your own brand, then you become a private label seller, which is these days one of the most lucrative ways to sell products, because you can sell something that has already proven itself on the market, people liking it, and you just add your own brand to it. So you can build a whole brand around, let's say, skincare, and have existing factories and laboratories create formulations for you, and you just use your own branding. So in the beauty world, actually, private labeling is very, very known and used a lot. So even if we go to a shop, even like Sephora, for example, you will find that even the different brands, oftentimes they're produced from by the same factories. So on Amazon or in e-commerce overall, you will find that a lot. So if there's a product that you find that you're interested, or a niche you would like to go into, if you're looking to source, you would then start like with resources that are openly available. Like Alibaba.com is a very famous page where you can search for manufacturers. So you just type in the sort of product that you're looking for, and you will find a whole list of different suppliers, mostly in Asia, but you will find other countries as well. And then there are a lot of alternatives to Alibaba, which is like these search engines for all around the world. So you can get manufacturers from the US, from Europe, from India, from Vietnam. I mean, everywhere in the world, there are incredible suppliers. And of course, there are advantages and disadvantages to buy from certain places or not. But yeah, that's like the beginning stages of sourcing, doing your research. Where are the manufacturers? Mm.
I love that. So are there better places to source than others, or what would you suggest in terms of like honing? And because obviously, even if you're private labeling, right, you want to make sure that you're bringing yourself to market in a way that is the best, right? So is
Mhm.
there a way to make sure that you pick the best person or best company to represent you in terms of being able to produce your product?
Yes. Well, I like to go outside of Alibaba. I like to be sourcing where others often are not sourcing because of oftentimes laziness. So I like to go a bit of the extra mile and find manufacturers that are not that easy to find, because that puts me into a competitive advantage. First, people are not going to copy that quickly. And on the other side, I'm going to often find products that are not yet available in the way that I then or the customer is going to um, bring it to the market. And that does, it can be very strategic that way. So I like to go about that. Yeah. Also, sourcing locally can be a great competitive advantage, especially because it gives a lot of perceived value. The customer, we have found, the American customer likes to buy American made products a lot. Also, the European customer likes to buy European made products a lot. Or the other way around too, like the European like the American made, and American like the German made, for example, or the UK made. They find there's like this attachment to like a perceived higher value, compared to made in China, for example. So yeah, that can be a strategy to go that can be very, very effective. And oftentimes people think that might be really expensive to go that round. It doesn't need to be really that much more expensive, especially if you consider shipping, because you don't need to be shipping from all around the world. So it does make sense to look closer as well when you do shop around for a manufacturer.
I love that. That's very true because you're right. It depends on the item, right? Because if I'm buying China, I want China from London, right? If I'm buying, so it just depends on what you're buying exactly. But if I'm
Yeah.
buying pharmaceuticals or some type of cream, maybe I might want to get it locally sourced. You know what I mean? Because you're right. There's certain things, certain items that you want to buy that depending on where they're from and the purpose, right? There's a perceived value with that too. So
Mhm.
absolutely right on that. Now, where does sourcing go wrong? Where do you see sourcing go wrong in the manufacturing business?
Sourcing goes a lot of times wrong especially when sourcing from overseas, and there's no proper sampling, there is no process of actually having a checkup on the manufacturer, have all your stock before you have it sent to you or to a warehouse. There needs to be some inspection. So they're like specific inspection companies that help businesses that are overseas and are producing in China, for example, to oversee the whole production and to make sure that the quality that was agreed on is actually what you're going to get. So buyers that want to save that money oftentimes have the trouble afterwards when they receive their order and they see that half of it isn't really in the quality that they've made that they wanted. And that can cause a lot of like issues with the customer, returns, bad reviews, and so on. So that's one of the biggest issues that you want to avoid right from the beginning, and have an inspection company. And that doesn't even have to cost you a lot of money. I mean, for a few $100s, you get a really good inspection company that is going to check up on that. You just need to be careful on that too, that you don't have a corrupt inspection company that is going to get paid. So so it needs to be a very independent inspection company, and there are plenty of those there that can help you for a few $100s, and it's a really good investment for
I
that.
love that. I love that. So making sure that you hire an inspection company just to, for quality controls, making sure that things don't go
Mhm.
wrong with what you're doing, that you've got somebody. And of course you gotta pay attention to the local politics too, right? Because in certain countries there are certain ways of doing things, and you want to make sure that
Mhm.
you, at the end of the day, it's about serving your end user and serving your customer and keeping quality
Yeah.
in order to keep your brand, right? To keep it well positioned. I absolutely
Yeah.
love that. And Laura, I want to just hack your brain for just a moment because your expertise. How we're a profit first channel, right? And so
Mhm.
we're all about the profits. We're all about the profits. We don't
Mhm.
lie. We don't pretend. We are all about the profits.
Mhm.
What can we do to make sure that we get the highest margins on our profits and really build our profitability?
Hmm. Very good question. There are different ways to go about it. Um, I have an approach of, see, a lot of people that want to get started in e-commerce and they are searching for a product and they already have a bit of a budget, they usually look out for the big winners, the products that make 100K a month. I have a very different approach because I look for products that make that 20K a month, 30K a month. And then I like to reinvest the profits and then scale by having a range of products. Um, the thing there, what you get is that you do diversify all your like a portfolio, and what we find with the customers is that your profit margins increase a lot, because you don't have that dependability on like a single product or a single small brand, but you have been branching out in all these different directions. um, Even within a brand you can do that, but I've seen that those businesses scale really quickly and have a long-term healthier profit margin. And when we look at profit margins and selling on Amazon, for example, we always look at around 30 to 40%, which are really, really high profit margins in compared to a lot of other industries when you look at the return of investment as well. We also look that we get 100% return of investment every time we get into a new product. So profits are very, very important, and it's the way that we can get to really scale. And that's how businesses can scale pretty quickly from 6 to 7 and so on figures. Yeah.
I love that. That is really good. So about diversifying, right? Diversifying your
Mhm.
portfolio in order, and then just kind of continue to reinvest to add more products. And in Profit First, we like to pay attention to something called the Pareto principle, that 80-20 rule, where you're
Mm.
looking for eventually the product that produces, that takes 20% of your effort that produces 80% of your bottom line, right? That's what we're looking for, 80% of your margins in a case of a manufacturing company. And so, sometimes you have to experiment a little, right? And invest in different products in order to find which one is going to be your real one that you want to really start focusing on and diversifying with. So that is really, really great there. And
Yeah. Or even your system. I mean, in this way, the thing is, the bigger your product is going to be, you often have like issues with hijacking and all that stuff. So that's why it's nice to stay a bit under the radar, so you don't get those issues with Chinese copycats and whatever. And there's like a lot of that too. But you can use that 2080 principle as well with automating it with a team. So you get, I mean, you can at some point be really semi-passive with that business, because a lot of processes can be just automated, and you can have a simple small team of virtual assistants that can take care of most day-to-day tasks, because the strategic part is temporary, I would say. Yeah.
I love that. And you're right. When you're sourcing it, really, they're really responsible for the day to day and the quality control, right?
Mhm.
So that, and if you're hiring overseas quality control inspectors, I mean, it's totally can become passive income for you from that standpoint. That is magnificent and a great idea too. Now, Laura, in terms of like getting on Amazon and positioning your product so that it's
Mhm.
known and able to be found, do you have any tips surrounding that?
Mhm. Um, yeah, I do. I mean, the algorithm works in a way that it tries to, I mean, we want to understand what is Amazon trying to achieve. They want to have customers that spend a lot of money and that are happy. So in the end of the day, there are always tactics to get better ranking, but the only tactic that is always going to work long term is going to be a good product. Yeah, and being value driven. If you bring value to your customer through your product, you are going to, even if you're not good in ranking and doing all those things, at some point you're going to get there. Of course, if you now have the support to do the ranking part as well with like keyword optimization and things like that, and you have a great product, that's how you're going to succeed in the long term, because you are then aligned with the goals that Amazon is having as well. Yeah,
I
they're
love
happy to promote you if you perform well.
I love that. You know, there are times that I order something from Amazon and I get like this little card in the box that says, "Hey, if you like my product, can you go ahead and give me a review on Amazon?" And if, by the way, if you don't like my product, make sure you call me directly, right? That's what the little card usually says on the inside of the box from Amazon.
Yeah, although that's not really allowed, but yeah, a lot of people do that.
That's funny. I didn't even know it wasn't allowed. That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
That's a great way of keeping the ratings up, though, I guess. So Laura, as we close out today, one of the questions I love to ask is what would be the one piece of advice, the one piece of tip, and that you can leave our viewers and our listeners, and it can be personal, it can be over business, it can be anything. What one piece of advice would you leave our viewers and listeners with today?
I would say to just do it, really. I find in personal life or even with customers that there's sometimes this hesitation of going forward with a certain plan or daring to go into this new brand, or let's start to sell on Amazon, or let's start that thing that I wanted to do for a while. So this year has been so unpredictable for everyone, but I think something that I have really learned personally as well for myself is just doing it. Like, yeah, just going for it.
You guys
Yeah.
heard Laura. Just do it. Just do it.
Just
Nike, just
do
do
it.
it. Get started.
Yeah.
Stop waiting for next year. Next year will be a whole different situation. Just do it.
Exactly. We don't know. It's everything is unpredictable, but something that has been really good for the e-commerce world this year, at least it has grown tremendously. So if you've been waiting to do this, now it's really the time. Just do it.
Exactly. And everybody has gone e-commerce now. The how we do business period just within the last 6 months, right, has just completely changed. So, those brick and mortars, you have to find new ways to sell. We're no longer going into the stores to buy. Everything's happening online.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, Laura, as we close out today, how can our viewers and listeners contact you? How do we find you so that we can work with you?
Mhm. You can just email me uh, at hello@laurabull.com. And you can find my Facebook group on, yeah, Facebook. It's e-commerce boss babes.
I
Yeah,
love that. E-commerce boss babes or hello at laurabull.com.
exactly.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'll also put that in the show notes so that you guys can go ahead and click on the show notes to contact Laura directly too for that. Thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you.